This is Newsroom. Hello and welcome once again from Johannesburg here in South Africa. I'm Evan Jansen. The show, of course, live broadcast from our studios here in Auckland Park. We're also streaming live on YouTube right now, where the whole show is always available on demand on our YouTube channel. Today, we'll cross live to Pretoria shortly, where the Chabane family are about to leave to Kikundu village in Limpopo, where Public Service and Administration Minister Collins Chabane will be laid to rest over the weekend. Roads must fall. That's a hashtag and a debate that's causing quite a stir at the University of Cape Town. We'll delve into that a little bit later. We'll also look at Johannesburg's waste management problem. Yes, the city produces about 6,000 tonnes a day. Also, we'll look at the Cricket World Cup, where South Africa have made a decent start in their quarter-final. But first, let's take a look at the day's news. Preparations for the funeral service of Public Service Minister Collins Chabane are underway at his home village of Kikundu outside Malamulele in Limpopo. The funeral will be held on Saturday from 9 o'clock. The memorial service will take place tomorrow at the Tshwane Event Centre in Pretoria at midday. Members of Parliament paid homage to the late Minister of Public Service Administration. Yesterday, members of the Limpopo legislature also paid tribute to him and his protectors, Lesiba Sekele and Lawrence Lentwane, during its sitting in the Lebongomo Legislative Chamber.
The nation has indeed lost a remarkable individual who served and led the kindness.
I have immense respect for his work, his commitment, his fairness, and his openness.
Road accidents in South Africa have become a serious national problem, which must be tackled head-on.
Mr. Chabane was an asset to South Africa's cabinet, and his contribution to the governance of our country will be missed.
I'm speaking of a man that was a thinker and a strategist.
If you summarize, I think his political life and talents were devoted to the care and betterment of others.
The untimely death of our former colleague, Minister Collins Chabane, came as a shock to us all.
The driver whose truck collided with a vehicle carrying Minister Chabane and two of his protectors in that fatal crash appeared in the Polokwane Magistrates Court in Limpopo yesterday. Amukelani Rihotso has been charged with culpable homicide, reckless driving, drunk driving and driving an unroadworthy vehicle. The matter has been postponed till the 10th of next month for bail application. The opposition's motion of no confidence in President Jacob Zuma has gone to the vote in Parliament, where it was defeated by 221 votes against 113. The no confidence vote was brought by DA parliamentary leader Musi Maimane after Ahang withdrew its motion at the last minute. More than 230 firefighters from the Eastern Cape, Northwest, Free State and KwaZulu-Natal were honoured at a gala dinner hosted by the Working on Fire program in Cape Town last night. The group was called in as backup to help 800 firefighters tackle the flames that tore through the Cape Peninsula 2 weeks ago. They will leave for their respective provinces later today to face their own fire season soon. Environmental Affairs Minister Edna Baloya said the firefighters were heroes. Moving abroad, doctors at Vanuatu's main hospital have so far treated 150 patients with cyclone-related injuries and illnesses after a powerful cyclone Pam hit the region over the weekend. Only one wing of the main hospital in the capital, Port Vila, was operational. A team of 20 Australian medical personnel headed to Vanuatu yesterday to set up a temporary ward in the hospital car park. And exit polls in Israel's election suggest a very tight race, but both the main candidates could be prime minister. They say they're talking to other parties to form a coalition government. Earlier results showed the Likud party of the current prime minister Benjamin Netanyahu pulling ahead. Yitzhak Herzog of the centre-left Zionist group said he was more likely to be asked to form a coalition government. Well, live cricket going on there right now. South Africa 16 without loss, chasing a modest 134 for victory. Of course, earlier in the day, Sri Lanka won the toss. They elected to bat. South Africa bowled him out for 133 with Imran Tahir taking 4 wickets. JP Duminy claiming a hat-trick as he finished with 3 wickets, a single wicket apiece for all the other quick bowlers. At the moment batting, Quinton de Kock is there with Hashim Amla on 10-16 for no loss. South Africa look odds on to make the semi-finals of the World Cup. There's another one goes to the boundary thanks to Quinton de Kock. 20 for no loss now. South Africa looking imperious against Sri Lanka. A provincial memorial service for the late Public Service Minister Collins Chabane and Sergeants Lesiba Sekele and Lawrence Lentswane will be held in Polokwane on Friday. Preparations for the funeral service of the Public Service Minister on Saturday are well underway in his home village of Kikundu outside Malamulele in Limpopo. The preparations include the grading of roads. Chabane will be accorded a Category 1 official funeral. President Jacob Zuma ordered the national flags to be flown at half-mast at all flagpoles across the country. Chabane and 2 of his protectors died in a collision between the vehicle they were travelling in and a truck on the N1 between Polokwane and Mokopane on Sunday. The family is preparing to travel to Limpopo to bid their final farewell to the great man. Now, our reporter Patricia Visagie is outside the Chabane home in Waterkloof in Pretoria to give us the latest. A very good morning to you, Patricia. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Eben.
Patricia, you've spent quite some time there this morning already. Just tell us, what have you observed there so far today?
Well, certainly I have been here since very early morning. Not a lot of activity taking place in comparison with the other days. Of course, it is with understanding that Mrs. Chabane has left the home. She has headed to Limpopo in preparation for, of course, Saturday's funeral. And one would understand why it is quiet here. Not a lot of mourners will be coming in today, of course, as she is not here. A lot of them were coming to come and sympathize with her, to come and express their condolences and respects. But a lot of government officials are still here at the home. And, of course, the late minister's brother, Percy Chabane, will remain here at the home to help coordinate tomorrow's memorial service that is expected to take place. But a lot of activity, as I said, taking place, a lot of meetings taking place. We have just seen, officials from the president's office arriving, and they just told me that they're going to have a meeting now with the family that is still here to try and see who from the family will be representing tomorrow at the memorial service that is expected to take place at the Tshwane Event Centre here in Pretoria, of course.
Do we have any understanding as the protocols regarding the memorial service tomorrow, who will be speaking and so forth?
Of course, even as we know that Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa will deliver the keynote address on behalf of government tomorrow at the memorial service. And as I've already mentioned, they have not yet appointed a family representative to, of course, speak on behalf of the family. And that's the meeting that is taking place right now as I am speaking to you, to try and determine who from the family will be speaking on behalf of the Chabane family. But it's probably going to be Percy Chabane who will speak on behalf of the family, but that's not confirmed yet. We will have to see what comes out of the meeting that is taking place, and of course then we'll bring you that update. And of course, as we already know, on Saturday at the funeral, President Jacob Zuma is expected to deliver the eulogy at Chikundu, where the official funeral will be held on Saturday.
A Category 1 official funeral is what it will be in Limpopo on Saturday. What does that entail, Patricia?
Of course, it means it is a state funeral, and as you have already mentioned, that the flags will be flown at, will be draped at half-mast, and of course it means that the government is taking care of all the funeral costs, and of course the president will be speaking at that funeral. So it is a funeral that is, taken care of by government to honor the late minister, to, bring support to his family, as of course he was a minister. He did serve in government, so it is just befitting to give him that category funeral.
You mentioned the family and the kind of support. There have been lots of support for the family up until now. Have you managed to have any word with any of the family members, or have you been able to even see any of the family members? This must be a horrific setback for the Shabane family.
Certainly, it is a great loss, and we have been speaking to the family spokesperson that has been appointed, and that is the late minister's brother, and that is Percy Shabane, and he has since Sunday been speaking to the SABC, and he told us about, how distraught he was when he learned of his brother's passing, and how he's in shock, and how the family is, struggling to come to terms with the sudden passing of the minister. The tragic way by which his life was claimed on that accident on Sunday morning. Of course, he told us that for their siblings, for the mother, and that's the 89-year-old Elizabeth Shabane, it is something that they're all battling with. They still in disbelief that their brother passed away, but it's something that they have to deal with. And he said, as much as it is difficult, they do appreciate the support that they have received from government, from the public, from their friends and other family members. So I'm sure that has made it a little bit easier for them to deal with this tragic loss. But of course, it can never be enough in a situation like this.
Patricia, thank you very much for that update. She's outside the Shabane family home. That is in Waterkloof in Pretoria, the capital here in South Africa. I can tell you 9 o'clock on Saturday is when the official funeral will take place. 2 memorial services will be held, one in Pretoria, the other one will be in Polokwane to remember the late Minister of Public Service and Administration, Collins Chabane. Also, State President of South Africa, Jacob Zuma, will deliver the eulogy at the official funeral, Category 1, that is, on Saturday. Now, former Chief Justice Sandile Ngobo says the tragic death of Minister Collins Chabane should serve as a wake-up call to motorists to be more cautious on the roads in South Africa. The former Chief Justice, along with Babenda King and Mpepu Ramabulane, visited Chabane's Pretoria home yesterday. Meanwhile, the driver of the truck that collided with the minister's vehicle has been remanded in custody. Of course, 29-year-old Mukelani Rikotso will appear in court again next month.
Royalty, the legal fraternity and artists paying their respects to Minister Collins Chabane. It's a tragedy that's brought the country's road safety under the spotlight.
Whenever accidents of this nature occurred, regardless of who the victim is, they simply call into question our commitment to road safety. And it simply underscores the need for us to rededicate ourselves to road safety.
Ordinary people die every day from road accidents. So I think really we as human beings, we should take it upon ourselves to do the correct things on the road.
The Bavenda reiterated a popular sentiment that Chabane was humble and hard-working.
He was not only my personal friend, he was a friend to the kingdom. He used to visit us on Sundays. In the village on Sunday, we have the so-called koro.
A combined memorial service of the minister and his 2 bodyguards will be held in the Pretoria City Hall on Thursday. King Zwelonke Sitawu of the Amaxhosa Royal House has also expressed his sadness. In court today, the man behind the wheel of the truck. There was a media scramble as he covered his face. It's alleged Rikotso made a U-turn on the highway. He is facing 3 charges of culpable homicide, 1 of reckless driving and a charge of drunk driving. His lawyer didn't oppose the state's request for a postponement. Shabane's family attended the proceedings.
The support of the ANC government, members of the community, members of the media in particular, we were gradually coping with the situation.
Police say blood tests have been conducted on Rikotso. It's unclear when the results will be available. There's a pending drunk driving case against him in Gauteng. Sipho Stirman, SABC News.
Just a quick recap on what's happening at the World Cup. The good news is South Africa are well on top. They are now 32 for no loss after 5 overs, chasing a modest target of 134 for victory. They'll be taking a break shortly, and there you have the update coming in. 32 for no loss, of course. Hashing Amla is still there. He's batting with Quinton de Kock as they try and chase down this target to get South Africa into a World Cup semi-final. But time for us to come back here and get on with the news. Let's take a look what you're talking about on Twitter. Of course, it's what's going on. The world is watching. It's what's going on in Israel. Khurram Ali says Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East, yet 4.5 million Palestinians under its control can't vote. Interesting observation there by Khurram Ali. He says again, a state that ignores the rights of its indigenous, non-Jewish people is not a democracy. Talking about the Israeli elections, of course, a very closely run election it is. Al Cohen says, Indians for Israel. I know that he's probably not perfect, Netanyahu, but he's still our best man. Israeli election contracts, so show love, says Lital Cohen. As they talk about the Israeli elections that is going on right now, it's a very close run thing. But let's take a look at the tweet of the day. This one comes from Mabine Siabe. Talking about Roads Must Fall. It's a conversation we'll have after a short little break. Roads Must Fall is an opportunity for arts and culture to do some work and have a national conversation about colonial stroke apartheid symbols. Yes, it is definitely a conversation. It seems the youth are very much involved in this conversation on social media. That was our viewers' tweet of the day. Let's now take a look at the front pages from around the globe. Of course, Israel is a key focus. The Jerusalem Post, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has declared victory after a tight national election appeared to give him the upper hand in forming the country's next coalition government. Down under, we move. Australia. The Australian Adelaide Archbishop Philip Wilson has become the world's most senior Catholic clergyman to be charged with concealing a child sex abuse allegation against another priest. We move to China. The South China Morning Post reports the controversial Colombo Port City project has run into more trouble, with Sri Lanka's Civil Aviation Authority warning the airspace over the Chinese-held area and the development would be controlled by China, drawing heavy criticism from Beijing. Let's now come back to South Africa, take a look what's happening here in our country. This is our diary here in Johannesburg, as you can see. Labour Court to hear Solidarity's lawsuit against the South African Police Service regarding whistleblower Colonel Cobus Roos, who was demoted by ex-crime intelligence boss Richard Mbluli then in Bloemfontein. The Supreme Court of Appeal, the city of Cape Town, appeals an order that in effect seals most documents ahead of a review hearing on the N1, N2 Winelands Toll Highway project. Also in Cape Town, that's the High Court there. The sentencing proceedings are expected to continue for Thandi Makubela, who was found guilty of killing her acting judge husband Patrick. It's a story that has had the tongues wagging here in South Africa for a couple of years. Now, time for us to have a look at the late Minister Collins Chabane in his pomp. He was a musician. Let's see how he went about his real trade.
Cameroon's economic capital, a unique art collection is on display. Titled Yesterday's Memory, Tomorrow's Memory.
We are trying to preserve this heritage despite many things that have changed in the designing, embroidery and the model.
If I'm telling you, you don't like it, I call it defeat.
Join Musam Khalipi on Afro Showbiz every Saturday at 19:30 CAT.
Welcome back. You caught me there watching the cricket. Not a wicket. South Africa 44 no loss, well on their way to victory. There you have, of course, Hashim Amla still batting. I was watching, you caught me watching. Oh, he was caught. Yeah, it was a wicket. Just, you see, I'm too into the cricket here to do my job today. So first wicket, South Africa down 44-1. Lasit Malinga. No, it's a no ball, mind you. It's a no ball. Show us the picture, Johan. It's a no ball. It's a no ball. Come, finish the picture.
No, that's when it's down. And I tell you what, it's a tough one to call.
It's a no ball, man. Only in Australia. Okay, let's get on with our real work here this morning. Now, the Johannesburg Waste Summit will be hosted at the Sandton Convention Centre next week. The people of Johannesburg produce no less than 6,000 tonnes of waste per day, and the city is running out of landfill sites to deal with the waste. Now the city and Pick It Up, the company that manages the city's landfill sites, plan on drastically reducing this by the year 2030. The summit will bring together business, labour and civil society to deal with the massive waste disposal challenge ahead. Local and international experts will present innovative ways to reduce the amount of waste the city produces. Now, I'm joined this morning by Amanda Nair, who is the Managing Director of waste management company Pick It Up. A very good morning to you, Amanda. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, Eben. Thank you very much for having us on the show.
This is a very important story, I think. I think people don't realize what it's really about. I wanted to ask you, I've had a look at it, and from what I can see, we need a change in behavior. Much like we need with electricity, we also need a change of behavior in how we manage our waste. Now, from all sectors in business, one would think, but also civil society. How do we achieve this change in behavior in the short and the medium term?
From a Pick It Up perspective and from a city perspective, even, I think it's going to require a lot of conscientization of society and of consumers. Now, consumers straddle the spectrum. They're not just domestic users, they're business users, they're industry, they're all sectors of society. They're school kids, they're university students. And I think the first point to make to the people of Johannesburg is minimize, because that's where we need to start. You know, I think we all need to start to make intelligent choices about the kind of things we consume and our patterns of consumption, which inform then the waste that goes out of our homes. The one area that I don't think we've paid enough attention to, but certainly is on our agenda, is on the supply side, talking to manufacturers and the industry that produces goods. I think the other area that's quite important for consumers and the people of Johannesburg to consider is reduction in waste. And of course, I think recycling is an enormously important activity that we need to be focusing on.
We see these pictures of landfill sites in and around the city here. Just paint the picture for us. How desperate is the situation with us running out of space?
Well, it's pretty desperate. If we continue with the current patterns of behavior, then we run out of landfill airspace by 2023, which is roughly 8 to 9 years into the future. And then we've got a serious crisis. In fact, I would say we've got a waste crisis as we sit here at the moment, and there's no question about that in our mind, certainly. So the interesting thing about waste is that waste is always been perceived as a commodity that you throw away.
Yeah.
But in fact, it has enormous value. And hence you see the sort of recycling activities that we witness on a day-to-day basis in our city.
Let's talk about the Waste Summit itself next week. What's your expectation from the summit?
Our expectation is, A, to share information across the broad spectrum of stakeholders and participants to forge partnerships, to take on board advice and methodologies from the people that we feel is important for us to be engaging with, and to come out of that summit with everybody being on the same page as to how we need to deal with this particular panacea going forward. You know, pick it up on its own, nor the city of Johannesburg can effectively pursue an agenda of waste minimization. We've got to do it in partnership with all stakeholders.
Now, the buzz or the word is waste reduction strategies. What are the waste reduction strategies that you at Pick It Up would like to see implemented immediately?
Well, in a very immediate sense, and I think almost everybody can do this without excuse, is to recycle. You know, we're running a recycling program across the city called Separation at Source. We haven't got to all of the areas yet, but our plan is to roll out in the next 12 months. But in the interim, you and I, as residents and users of the city, we can do recycling in our homes. It's going to require a little bit of effort from everybody, but as you said at the start, we need to change our behavior. People can separate, you take it to your nearest garden refuse site or buyback center, or even have conversations with reclaimers on your streets, you know, to start to make sure that your plastic goes to a particular point, your paper goes to a particular point, your glass, etc., etc. So we can all start pitching in. And for goodness sake, will people not throw things out the windows of their cars and litter on streets? Because it's just bad manners.
But that's been something that we talked about for generations, and it doesn't seem to change. I want to talk, you mentioned recycling, and we see in the neighborhoods around the city, not just here, all around the country, we see resourceful men with big bags and trolleys coming around and clearing up waste and separating the waste for people. How does that tie in with the work that you'd like to see happen?
Well, I think the first message from that is a clear message that there is value in waste, and you can create economic opportunities. Those people that you see out on the streets of Johannesburg earn up to 500 Rand a week, and it's a pretty decent income. So that's the first message. The second, in response to your question, we're currently engaging with the reclaimer and trolley pusher communities to look at how we can integrate them into the waste value chain without, of course, you know, being prescriptive about how that happens, because sometimes, you know, it's interference and you're starting to upset a fairly decent business model. Yeah. So that conversation is ongoing. They are part of our summit next week. And the other big challenge for us are the reclaimers on our tip faces on the landfill site. So there again, you know, trying to manage that differently and trying to do the recycling prior to the waste getting to the tip face.
Urbanization and waste go together hand in hand. Johannesburg is probably one of the fastest growing urban centres on the continent. How do you balance the books with urbanization and waste creation?
Well, you know, interestingly, the rate of growth in the city of Johannesburg from people's perspective is certainly, you know, very, very high on a continental, from a continental perspective. Now, the more people, the more waste. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's a bigger problem. It means that there's a bigger opportunity for us to change the way we behave, to recycle more and create more value and beneficiate and create byproduct from the waste that we're generating. Interestingly, at our summit next week, the evening of the first day, we're having a fashion show. And the fashion show, the garments will be modeled, are all made from recyclable materials. So, you know, these applications lend themselves to very interesting solutions for all of us.
That's very interesting. We look forward to that. We look forward to what comes out of the fashion show, but more importantly, what comes out of the Waste Summit, because it's a problem that I think increasingly all centres around the country will face within the years to come. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
That's the Managing Director of Pick It Up, the waste management company that's managing waste here in Johannesburg. And I can tell you the Waste Summit will be held next week, but the call is for all of us to change our behaviour, recycle and use less. It's a very simple principle. We move on to one of these stories of the week, or something that's caused quite a stir, especially in Cape Town. Students at the University of Cape Town staged a protest calling for the statue of Cecil John Rhodes to be taken down, saying that the statue is a reminder of colonial dispossession and the oppression of Africans, and it is not in line with the institution of racial rebirth. The protests have since garnered support after a student at the university poured human waste onto the statue itself. During a seminar on transformation at the university this Monday past, the SRC president, senior staff and others staged a walkout with the president of the SRC saying they have begged, grovelled and pleaded with management. However, the SRC has since revealed plans to march to the Vice-Chancellor's office on Friday to get a date for the removal of the statue. Now, also a student from the University of Rhodes in Grahamstown have shown support to the University of Cape Town. According to reports, they gathered to lead a protest against the Rhodes University's own institutional memorialization of Cecil John Rhodes. Now, we are joined from our Cape Town studio by Chumani Makwele, who is the man that threw the waste, the human waste that was onto the statue. Very good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Very good morning to you. Thank you for having us.
It's an interesting discussion that you've started in Cape Town. Now, there are many other monuments of Cecil John Rhodes in Cape Town. Why are you so passionate about this particular statue?
Well, this statue, in fact, particularly, it's about us being at UCT, passing this statue every day in our campus. And for us, we feel that this is very traumatizing. And we know the history of Cecil John Rhodes, that he was a brutal racist, a brutal killer who killed black people here in South Africa and in Africa at large. We feel that as much as we respect history, we appreciate history. Cecil John Rhodes, we've got 2 museums in Cape Town, one in Muizenberg in his private cottage, one in Grooteskier estate where the president lives. We request kindly that the university take that statue to those museums. We highly appreciate those who appreciate Rhodes to go and view him in those 2 museums. For us, as a student in the University of Cape Town, we feel that Rhodes must go down and must fall so that we can have a unifying figure. For the moment, Cecil John Rhodes represent a state of division, very divisive figure, and we want in the university to unite as students black and white. As we have seen in the past week, black and white students have united for the first time in one call and say, we have discovered our mission, we are prepared to fulfill it, and we will never betray this mission that Cecil John Rhodes must fall.
Now, we've tried to speak to the university or get them into this interview with you today. They have flatly refused. You guys have been in consultation with them. What is the position of the university with regards to the waste that was thrown on it and also the discussion that needs to be had around Cecil John Rhodes?
Well, the university has been very interesting. Their response has been very interesting. Remember, on Monday last week, when the incident took place, the protest took place for the first time, they are acted as saying, well, this is another black, angry, barbaric kind of a person who does not know what to do. But when they realized that other black students immediately within the very same day joined the protest, that includes the SRC members, joined the protest because they felt that indeed these cries that we are making, they affect themselves. And of course, when on Wednesday we did the same thing, and on Thursday we called the whole community of UCT on a public platform, and then the black and white students came together and they made a very strong call, united in one thing, that the statue of Cecil John Rhodes must come down because it's a very divisive statue. And then since Thursday, on a Friday reports, the university changed its language drastically, and then it said to us, well, we will consider the removal of the statue. And then I think so far, it is a very improving kind of language and logic, because they see that the rest of the university want the statue to come down. And of course, since last Monday, the university called a seminar to discuss science, signatures, and symbolism. And then in that protest, students united in one voice said, we will not continue as usual. We had seminars, papers, dialogues throughout the year since the since 1994. Now, we are saying as students, we are sick and tired of discourse that does not result in anything. And then we stage a walkout led by our president, the SABC president. And then we said we will not continue with the discourse with the university up until they drop the charges against me and the investigation that they are doing. Because we are saying you can't claim to have a discourse with the university student while you have criminalized one of our students purely because he did the freedom of expression, you know. And then you can't investigate our members purely because they have shown a willingness to identify with the pain and suffering of black people. We know that in Cape Town, there are black people who are suffering who are still using porta-potty toilet in the multi-billion city. And then that city claims Khayelitsha as its community. And Khayelitsha, where black people are living, are using porta-potty toilet. To us as black people, we are saying, look, let's take our shame from where we are. Because when we leave the university during the holidays, we go back home in Khayelitsha to go and use the porta-potty. Now we are saying, this is the shame. The affluent, the ivory tower, the elitist must see our shame collectively. And then we're saying Session John Rhodes must come down because it disgusts us.
Quickly, are you saying that the University of Cape Town is also a racist institution? Is that what you're saying in a roundabout way?
Well, this is not just me. I mean, UCT, I think two years ago, conducted its own discourse, a dialogue around whether UCT is racist. And the united voice during that discourse, there's still clips about this, you know. Students said, yes, indeed, the institution is very racist. I mean, the institution, the names of the building in the institution, the symbols of the institution are still celebrating brutal, racist individuals. For example, the face of our institution, which is the Jameson Hall, is named after a brutal killer, Dr. Jameson, who brutally killed black people as an ally of Session John Rhodes. And then we are saying the university must stop celebrating this individual. We are kindly with this university. We are respecting our management, our parents, but we are saying to our parents, it has been long. These names that are existing now in university are not necessary. I mean, each and every year, the university have a memorial lecture of Steve Biko held in the same hall. What kind of message are you sending? We're saying we respect Steve Biko, but you cannot insult Steve Biko like this, remembering him in the name of Jameson Hall. We are saying change that hall. The history of UCT, Dr. A.C. Jordan was forced to live in Langa, you know, because of being black. The Mamdani affair that happened there, Professor Mamdani was forced to leave UCT precisely because he felt that the curriculum of the institution must change. Professor Mafeje was forced to leave university precisely because he was black, and the apartheid government forced UCT to withdraw his appointment. And UCT, within a month, they withdraw his appointment. Now we are saying, as black students, we have a long history of racism in this institution, therefore it must change. And white students have joined us in that united voice.
Quickly, what is the way forward?
Well, our way forward is very humble. We are saying to the management on Friday that we are requesting a date when the Session John Rhodes statue will be removed. And then today, fortunately, the white students who have been progressive have called a seminar of themselves. They are saying that white privilege seminar, where white students, they will be talking with their colleagues, with their sisters and brothers, to explain to themselves, among themselves, about the black pain, why they support black students in the university, why they feel that St. John Rhodes, as white student, they want to fall. Now that's our plan. Today we're having that seminar of white privilege led by white students, and on Friday we're having a march to the management office where we're giving the Vice Chancellor our demands, which he already know, and say we are requesting only a date for him to tell us when the statue will be removed.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. It is an interesting discussion on race at the University of Cape Town. But let's go to the cricket. Cass Naidoo and her panel are busy, during what is now the dinner break or the breakfast break here in South Africa. Of course, South Africa rolled over Sri Lanka for 133. They were 42 for 1, I think, at the break. Very good morning to you, Cass, and the team. You guys must be cock-a-hoop over there.
It was just amazing how it was quite matter of fact when he spoke about it. I guess he knows the role, the huge responsibility that he has to take the ball and to ensure that he gets some wickets.
It is. One thing that I've noticed in this innings, and I'd like to actually see what sort of pace he bowled at in the previous games, is that he bowled quite quicker this game. So, and when you bowl quicker, you normally get a couple of RBWs as well, because guys don't really pick the pace as well. But JP Duminy it's important that he picks up wickets, and because he is an all-rounder and he wants to be an all-rounder, so he came to the party today, and long may it continue.
Live on SABC Sport on 3. We also would like to welcome our Channel 404 viewers, and good news from our side. Sri Lanka won the toss. They elected to bat first, and it hasn't gone their way. They're all out for 133. JP Duminy winning with a hat-trick, and only 3 Sri Lankan batsmen getting to double figures. We're just having a look at the wickets that went down, pretty much like a highlights package in itself, where Sri Lanka weren't allowed to get away, and the wickets just kept tumbling, and you got a sense from the Sri Lankans that they knew they needed to go on, and Sangakkara was the key.
Well, he's key, but he wasn't going to do any damage at that point. There wasn't enough batsmen to hang around with him, and to play that attackingly at such a late stage, you're always going to be losing your wicket, because if you don't get out the other side, you're going to lose partners. So I think his planning of his innings today disrupted the team momentum as well as himself.
Well, very surprising at that time when the wicket of Sangakkara went. It was the rain came and caught everyone by surprise, including the commentators. But Sangakkara out for 45 in what is likely to be his last innings if Sri Lanka are not out of this World Cup. So that was Sri Lanka all out for 133. South Africa in response, 134 is what they're looking at. There I am, missing out the wicket of Malinga. He was the last one to go. How tough is it going to be for Sri Lanka to come out after the dinner break, Mark?
I think it's going to be very tough. They were maybe expecting to pick up 3 wickets to have a hope in maybe winning this game. They only picked up 1, but we did get off to a bit of a fly, 40 runs already. As I just watched Malinga just he sort of lost a bit of heart with his batting. I remember the days that he was smashing in the IPL. But I mean, they're gonna suffer, when they come out. It is quite a difficult thing when you know that the side, you still got to get 9 wickets, and then you only have to, got to defend 90 runs. It is very tough. Bowlers might be a little bit loose. You never know. The first couple of balls might go to the boundary, and then it's just a long drag. You're thinking about, okay, now the abuse that you're going to get, the critics, they're going to come out after going home at a World Cup. It starts building, and you actually just want to get on the plane and just go home and just lock yourself in your house.
And it's also so difficult for bowlers because they must keep the field up. They can't just defend now. They have to pick up wickets. So any ball that goes through the field goes for 4.
Go for 4.
So it's a tough job for the bowlers now.
I mean, the state of mind 3 hours ago, they actually believed they can win the World Cup. 3 hours later, they're having lunch, must probably choking on the lunch.
Ouch.
And ouch, it would be ouch. And, Mark will tell you, very quiet. Nobody's saying anything to anybody. And you walk on the field, there's no buzz. Somebody's trying to get the buzz going, but it's not really happening. 1 or 2 4s, game over, and as Mark says, get home. Press will be on top of your back. 3 or 4 retirements are going to take place. Maybe sack the captain or sack the coach. Lots of those type of things start taking place on losing sides where there's high expectations.
And just on South Africa's side of things, I just want us to take responsibility. The game, we've been through too many World Cups where strange things can happen, and I'm just looking for one guy to get out there and play that ugly 40 that is required.
An ugly 40.
An
I like
ugly
that.
40. An ugly 40 from the one side. The rest of the guys can bet around him and take us through to victory.
Well, those are the bowling figures from South Africa. Absolutely superb. Have a look at the two spinners, because everyone talks about our seamers, Ray, and then you look at the spinners really turning up today. 7 wickets between the two of them.
Unbelievable performance. We can't really criticise them in any way, but the bottom line is when a side's going to have wickets in hand and our fifth bowler comes on, you know, it cannot continue where Dale Steyn and wickets get taken in the first 5 or 6 overs. Does JP have the credentials to stand up to batsmen that are in with 30 or 40 in equal amount of balls, and they do have 9 wickets in hand after 15 or 16 overs? That is going to be the test for JP as a bowler.
Well, before we say goodbye to our Channel 404 viewers, just to recap, South Africa 40 for 1 at the dinner break, chasing 134 to win this match and to move through to the semi-finals of the ICC Cricket World Cup.
Thank you very much there to Cass and a very experienced team. Of course, South Africans will be having a very nice breakfast this morning as we are on the verge of going through. We need 90-odd runs with 9 wickets in hand. They're having lunch, or, well, dinner. It's dinner break now in Sydney. It's about, 10 hours ahead of us. So let's take a look at some of your tweets. What have you been talking about in real time now? There we have Nelisa Magelani saying, "Show no mercy, Protea fire." Oh, my word, some days. Protea fire. You can't fight the inevitable, I think is what that should be. Proteas have got this. Protea fire, yes, let's not speak too soon. Solly says, "Magnificent all-round bowling by the Proteas. They really brought that Protea fire, man." Cricket World Cup 2015. Vera says, "I hope we won't have to face New Zealand in the semis. Bring on India." The frauds. That one from Virus. I don't know. That's a little bit harsh. Talking about Sri Lanka. So that was this morning. The man who celebrates the best in world cricket, Imran Tahir. Love it when he runs off to the boundary and beats his own chest whenever he takes a wicket. That picture from Ndalene, and it says something about Mzansi. Mzansi for real, I would think. But let's take a look now at our picture of the day. The show's kind of been deconstructed a little bit today because of cricket and what's going on. That one says, Wandile Dlamini says, "The demonstration began in BT." This is a pic of a group moving down to the Rhodes statue on Jamie Steps. Now, Rhodes Must Fall is a campaign that's been started by some University of Cape Town students. We had one of the ringleaders on here. We've asked the City of Cape Town earlier to join us to talk about this. They politely declined our invitation, saying that they will release a statement on the matter. Of course, it is a very passionate discussion that's being had in Cape Town around the issue of what they call colonial symbols. What do you think? At SABC Newsroom, send us your views. We'll try and put them up throughout the rest of the week. We know it's a very passionate subject, name changes and the like. What kind of symbolism would you like to see on a place, on any university campus for that matter? But let's take a quick look at our Facebook page before we wrap this show. Today, Human Settlements Minister and ANC MP Lindiwe Sisulu says she is not surprised that the motion of no confidence in President Zuma failed. The National Assembly unanimously rejected the motion yesterday with 221 votes against 113. Then, the KwaZulu-Natal Education Department is considering installing prepaid water and electricity meters in several schools that owe municipalities huge debts. And finally, the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, claimed victory in Israel's election. After exit polls shows he had erased his centre-left rival's lead with a hard rightward shift in which he abandoned a commitment to negotiate a Palestinian state. That's the preliminary results, mind you. We'll give you the final results tomorrow. It looks like coalition is the word that comes out there. Now, we're going to close the show. Normally we say we love it in the morning, but let's close with the music of the late great Minister of Public Service and Administration, also an avid musician, Collins Chabani Hamakatli.